The sound of water dripping onto hardwood jerked Meredith Lyons awake at 3 a.m., her silk sheets tangled around her legs as she fumbled for her phone in the dark. This couldn't be happening, not with the board meeting in 6 hours. The persistent plink, plink, plink from her kitchen mocked her as she stumbled out of bed, designer pajamas clinging to her slender frame. Meredith flipped the light switch and groaned. The same leak she thought had been fixed last week had returned with a vengeance. Water now pooling on her expensive Italian marble countertops and spilling onto the floor. She glanced at her watch, too early to call any service, and certainly too early to call the handyman who'd fixed it the first time. What was his name again? Frank, Fred, Flynn Kavanagh. She grabbed a mixing bowl from her cabinet and placed it under the drip, the metallic ping now amplified as each droplet hit the stainless steel. Sleep would be impossible now. Pulling her robe tighter around herself, she made her way to her home office, deciding to get an early start on her presentation. Being the CEO of Lumina Tech meant sleep was often a luxury anyway. Morning arrived too quickly, and Meredith stood in her closet, selecting a power suit while rehearsing market projections in her head. The board meeting would be crucial. They needed to secure the Westfield acquisition if they wanted to maintain their edge over competitors. She called her assistant from her car. "Amy, I need someone to fix my kitchen sink today. The leak is back." "I'll call your usual service," Amy replied. "No," Meredith said, surprising herself. "There was a guy last week, Flynn Kavanagh. He did good work, even if it didn't last. See if he can come back. Tell him it's urgent." The single dad. "Sure, I'll try to reach him." Meredith had almost forgotten that detail. When Flynn had come to fix her sink the previous week, his phone had rung several times calls from his daughter's school and babysitter. He'd apologized profusely each time, explaining he was juggling work and parenthood on his own. There had been something endearing about his weathered hands and the gentle way he spoke about his child. The board meeting went as expected, challenging questions, skeptical faces, but ultimately approval for her acquisition strategy. Meredith was gathering her materials when her phone buzzed with a text from Amy. "Handyman can come at 6 p.m. Says sorry for inconvenience and previous repair not holding. No extra charge." Meredith texted back a quick thanks and headed to her next meeting. By the time she pulled into her driveway that evening, the day's stress had settled between her shoulder blades like a physical weight. She checked her watch, 5:55 p.m. Right on time, a slightly battered pickup truck pulled in behind her Mercedes. Flynn Kavanagh stepped out, toolbox in hand, a little girl of about 7 or 8 trailing behind him. He wore worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing tanned, muscular forearms. His sandy brown hair was slightly disheveled, and a day's worth of stubble shadowed his jaw. "Miss Lyons," he called, his voice carrying across the driveway. "Sorry about bringing my daughter. Babysitter canceled last minute." "That's fine," Meredith said, surprised to find she meant it. "Come on in." The little girl stayed close to her father's side, a book clutched to her chest. Her auburn hair was pulled into somewhat messy pigtails, and her jeans had a patch on one knee. "This is Lily," Flynn said, placing a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Lily, say hello to Miss Lyons." "Hello," the girl said softly, her eyes wide as she took in Meredith's immaculate home. "You have a pretty house." "Thank you, Lily," Meredith replied, finding herself smiling at the child's earnestness. "You can sit at the kitchen table while your dad works if you'd like. Are you hungry?" "I might have some cookies somewhere." Flynn raised an eyebrow, seeming surprised by the offer. "You don't have to do that." "It's no trouble," Meredith said, leading them to the kitchen. She pointed to the sink. "Same problem as last week, I'm afraid." Flynn set down his toolbox and immediately got to work examining the sink. "I'm really sorry about this. I thought I had it fixed properly." Lily settled at the kitchen table with her book, occasionally glancing up at Meredith with curiosity. Meredith found herself opening cabinets, locating a package of chocolate chip cookies she'd forgotten she had. Here you go, she said, placing a few on a napkin for Lily. What are you reading? Harry Potter, Lily answered, brightening. It's my second time reading it. Dad and I read together every night. From under the sink, Flynn's voice emerged. She's reading well above her grade level. Teacher says she could skip a grade, but we're taking it slow. Pride colored his words, and Meredith found herself wondering what it was like to raise a child alone. Her own life had been a straight line from elite university to executive track, with relationships taking a distant back seat to career ambitions. That's impressive, Meredith said sincerely. I was a bookworm when I was your age too. Flynn emerged from under the sink, wiping his hands on a rag. Found the problem. The connector I used last time wasn't the right fit for your high-end fixtures. I'll need to get a specialized part. Meredith checked her watch. Will it take long? I have some work calls later. The hardware store closes in 30 minutes, Flynn said, glancing at his daughter. I can run and get it, but... I can watch Lily, Meredith heard herself say before she'd even thought it through. If that's okay with both of you. Flynn looked uncertain. That's really kind, but I don't want to impose. It's not an imposition, Meredith insisted. It's the least I can do since you came on such short notice. Lily and I can get to know each other better. Lily perked up. Can I see the rest of your house? It looks like a castle. Flynn hesitated, then nodded. If you're sure it's no trouble, Miss Lyons, please call me Meredith. Flynn's smile made something flutter in her chest. Meredith, then, thank you. I'll be as quick as I can. After Flynn left, Meredith found herself giving a tour of her home to an enthusiastic 7-year-old who asked surprisingly thoughtful questions about the artwork on the walls and the view from the balcony. They ended up in Meredith's home office, where Lily spotted a photo of Meredith receiving an industry award. Are you famous? Lily asked, eyes wide. Meredith laughed. Not famous, no. I run a company called Lumina Tech. We make computer systems that help other businesses. So you're the boss? Lily asked, clearly impressed. I suppose I am, Meredith said, realizing how long it had been since she'd thought about her position that way. The wonder in Lily's eyes made her see her own achievements from a fresh perspective. My dad says being a boss means taking care of people who work for you, Lily said matter-of-factly. He says that's why he works so hard, cause people count on him to fix their stuff. Meredith felt something shift in her perception of Flynn. Not just a handyman, but someone with his own business philosophy. Your dad sounds very wise, she said. By the time Flynn returned, Lily was showing Meredith her favorite illustrations from Harry Potter on her tablet, and they were deep in discussion about which house they'd be sorted into at Hogwarts. Definitely Ravenclaw for you, Flynn said from the doorway, smiling at the unexpected scene before him. Meredith looked up, feeling strangely caught off guard, as if Flynn had glimpsed a side of her few people ever saw. We've been having a great time, she said, standing up. Lily is delightful company. Flynn's expression softened. She's the best thing in my life. He turned to his daughter. Ready to hang out in the kitchen while I finish the job, kiddo? Can I stay with Meredith? Lily asked. She was going to show me her collection of rocks from different countries. Flynn glanced at Meredith questioningly. I don't mind at all, Meredith assured him, unless you need her with you. No, that's fine. Thanks again. He hesitated. I got the right part this time. It'll be a permanent fix. As Flynn worked in the kitchen, Meredith showed Lily her small collection of stones gathered during business trips around the world. She found herself enjoying the girls' company, her enthusiasm contagious. It had been years since Meredith had looked at her travel souvenirs as anything other than dusty reminders of endless work trips. An hour later, Flynn called from the kitchen. All done. Come test it out. Meredith and Lily joined him as he demonstrated the smooth operation of the faucet and explained the improvements he'd made. This won't leak again, I promise. I also tightened a few other connections that looked like they might give you trouble down the road. Thank you, Meredith said sincerely. What do I owe you? Flynn shook his head. Nothing for today. This should have been done right the first time. That's not fair, Meredith protested. You spent your evening here, brought special parts, really. It's fine, Flynn insisted. Professional pride, I stand by my work. Meredith reluctantly accepted, but as they walked to the door, she had a sudden impulse. Do you and Lily have dinner plans? I was going to order in, and I'd love the company. The surprised look on Flynn's face made her immediately regret the invitation. I mean, you must be busy, and it's getting late. Can we, Dad? Lily interrupted, tugging at her father's sleeve. Please, Meredith said she's never played Uno. Flynn looked down at his daughter, then back at Meredith. Are you sure? We're not exactly dressed for dinner with a CEO. Meredith felt her cheeks warm. You know what I do? Lily mentioned it, he admitted. I had no idea last week, I just thought you were. He trailed off. Just a woman with a leaky sink, Meredith supplied, smiling. A very busy professional with great taste in kitchen fixtures, he countered, returning her smile. That was how Meredith Lyons, CEO of Lumina Tech, found herself sitting cross-legged on her living room floor playing Uno with a handyman and his daughter, empty Chinese food containers on the coffee table. Lily was merciless with her draw 4 cards, and Flynn's deep laugh each time his daughter triumphed made something warm unfurl in Meredith's chest. When Lily yawned for the 3rd time, Flynn checked his watch. Time to go, kiddo. School tomorrow. But I'm winning. Lily protested, even as she rubbed her eyes. We can finish another time, Flynn said, then glanced at Meredith. I mean, I'd like that, Meredith said quietly, surprising herself again. At the door, Lily impulsively hugged Meredith around the waist. Thanks for the cookies and for showing me your rocks. You're very welcome, Lily, Meredith replied, touched by the gesture. Flynn hesitated, then pulled out his business card. If you need anything else fixed. He flipped it over and wrote something on the back. That's my personal number. Just in case. Their fingers brushed as she took the card, and Meredith felt an unexpected jolt of connection. Thank you, Flynn, for everything. After they left, Meredith stood in her quiet, empty house, Flynn's card in her hand, wondering what had just happened. She hadn't spent an evening like that relaxed, laughing, present in years. 2 days later, Meredith sat in her office, staring at her phone. Flynn's card lay on her desk, and she'd picked it up and set it down at least a dozen times. Was it ridiculous to call a handyman? She barely knew just because she couldn't stop thinking about his smile. And his daughter. And the way her enormous house had felt like a home for those few hours. Before she could talk herself out of it again, her office door burst open and her assistant rushed in. Meredith, there's a major issue at the new building site. The contractor says there's a problem with the water main connection that could delay the entire renovation schedule. Meredith groaned. The company was expanding into a new headquarters building, and any delay would cost thousands. What does our project manager say? He's in Singapore for the tech conference. The contractor is saying we need specialized plumbing expertise immediately, or we'll miss our inspection window tomorrow. Meredith's eyes fell on Flynn's card. A coincidence or fate? I might know someone, she said slowly. A small business owner with plumbing expertise. An hour later, Meredith stood at the construction site in her heels and hard hat, watching as Flynn examined the complex web of pipes that would service the 10-story building. He'd arrived 20 minutes after her call, apologizing for his work clothes and expressing surprise at the scale of the job. Can you help? She asked, trying to keep her voice professional despite being acutely aware of how his T-shirt stretched across his broad shoulders as he leaned in to inspect a connection. Flynn straightened up and wiped his hands on his jeans. It's fixable. There's a design flaw in how they've configured the main connection to the city water supply. I'd need to bring in a couple of my guys and some specialized equipment, but we could have it sorted by tonight. Relief washed over her. That would be incredible. Whatever your rate is, we'll double it for the rush job. Flynn looked around at the massive construction site. This is going to be your new office. The new headquarters for Lumina Tech, Meredith confirmed. We've outgrown our current space. Flynn nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. You've built something impressive. So have you, Meredith said. A business, a life for you and Lily, that's not easy to do on your own. Something shifted in Flynn's expression. No, it's not, but worth every second, he hesitated. Speaking of Lily, I'd need to pick her up from after-school care by 5. Is it okay if she hangs out here while we finish? She has homework, and she's good at staying out of the way. Of course, Meredith said without hesitation. I'll make sure there's a safe space for her away from the construction. Flynn made some calls, and within an hour, a small crew had arrived with equipment. Meredith was impressed watching him direct his team, his expertise evident in the respect they showed him and the efficiency with which they worked. At 5, he left briefly to pick up Lily, returning with the girl who was clearly excited to see Meredith again. You're building a whole building? Lily asked, eyes wide as Meredith showed her to a makeshift office they'd set up in a completed section. The company is, Meredith confirmed. Your dad is helping us make sure all the water pipes work correctly. Dad can fix anything, Lily said with absolute confidence. One time our neighbor's car wouldn't start, and Dad fixed it with just a screwdriver and some tape. Meredith laughed. I believe it. She helped Lily with her math homework while periodically checking on the progress with the pipes. By 8 o'clock, Flynn appeared in the doorway, tired but triumphant. All fixed, he announced. We've tested the connections and everything's ready for inspection tomorrow. Lily, who had dozed off on a stack of moving blankets, stirred at the sound of her father's voice. Did you save the day, Dad? Flynn smiled at his daughter. Just doing my job, kiddo. But Meredith knew better. You did save the day. This could have delayed our entire moving schedule by weeks. I can't thank you enough. Flynn shrugged, but she could tell he was pleased. Happy to help. As they were leaving, Meredith impulsively said, Would you two like to have dinner again sometime? As a proper thank you. Flynn paused, then nodded slowly. We'd like that, wouldn't we, Lily? Yes, Lily exclaimed, suddenly wide awake. Can we go to Pizza Palace? They have a game room. Flynn looked embarrassed. We can go somewhere nicer. Pizza Palace sounds perfect, Meredith interrupted. I haven't played arcade games in years. They agreed on Friday evening, and Meredith found herself counting the days. When Friday arrived, she left work early for the first time in months, changing into jeans and a casual sweater that felt foreign after her usual business attire. Pizza Palace was noisy and bright, filled with families and the electronic beeping of arcade games. Meredith spotted Flynn and Lily at a booth, both of them lighting up when they saw her. The casual evening was a revelation, eating pizza with her fingers, laughing as Lily destroyed her at skee-ball, and watching Flynn's face as he cheered his daughter on. You're really good at this, Flynn commented as Meredith racked up points on a vintage Pac-Man machine. Misspent youth, she admitted. I used to sneak away to the arcade when I was supposed to be at debate team practice. Flynn leaned against the machine, watching her play. Somehow I have trouble picturing you as a rebel. There's a lot you don't know about me, Meredith said, surprising herself with the flirtatious tone. I'd like to learn, Flynn replied softly, their eyes meeting over the glow of the arcade screen. The moment was broken by Lily rushing over, proudly displaying a stuffed unicorn she'd won with her tickets. The evening continued with more games, more laughter, and a comfortable ease that Meredith hadn't experienced in a relationship, friendship, or otherwise in years. As they walked to their cars afterward, Lily skipped ahead, playing with her new toy. Thank you for tonight, Flynn said. It's been a while since we've done something fun like this. I should be thanking you, Meredith replied. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed myself so much. Flynn hesitated, then said, Would you like to do this again sometime? Maybe without the arcade noise so we can actually talk. Meredith felt a flutter of nervousness. Like a date. Yes, Flynn said simply. Like a date. I'd like that very much. The following week, Meredith found herself sitting across from Flynn at a small Italian restaurant. Lily spending the evening with her grandmother. The conversation flowed easily as they shared stories about their lives. Flynn's journey from construction worker to starting his own business after his wife left when Lily was 2, Meredith's climb up the corporate ladder and the sacrifices it had entailed. "Do you ever regret it?" Flynn asked. "Focusing so much on your career?" Meredith considered the question seriously. "I love what I've built, the people who depend on me for their livelihoods, but lately I've been wondering if I've missed something essential along the way." "Like what?" "Connection," she admitted. "Real connection with people outside of work, the kind that doesn't depend on quarterly results or stock prices." Flynn reached across the table and took her hand. It's never too late to find that. His touch was warm and steady, like the man himself. Meredith found herself opening up about her fears and hopes in a way she never had with the polished executives and entrepreneurs she usually dated. Flynn listened intently, his blue eyes focused entirely on her, making her feel truly seen. As weeks turned into months, Meredith found herself seamlessly integrating into Flynn and Lily's life. Weekend hikes, where Lily collected leaves and rocks for her growing museum, helping with science fair projects, movie nights where they all fell asleep on the couch. Flynn coming to her rescue when the dishwasher at her house mysteriously stopped working, then staying for dinner and eventually the night. The new Lumina Tech headquarters opened on schedule, and at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Meredith spotted Flynn and Lily in the crowd, both of them beaming with pride. Later, at the reception, her board members were surprised when she introduced Flynn as her partner, but the genuine warmth between them was undeniable. "So this is the famous plumber who saved the water main," her CFO commented after meeting Flynn. "He's much more than that," Meredith replied, watching as Flynn charmed a group of executives with his straightforward manner and surprising knowledge of sustainable building practices. Their worlds continued to blend in unexpected ways. Flynn's business expanded as Meredith introduced him to her network, though he was careful to maintain his independence, never wanting to succeed because of her connections alone. Meredith found herself delegating more, leaving the office at reasonable hours to attend Lily's school events and enjoy quiet evenings with the 2 people who had become the center of her world. 6 months into their relationship, Flynn and Lily were practically living at Meredith's house, though they still maintained their small home across town. One Saturday morning, as they made pancakes together in Meredith's kitchen, Flynn sent Lily to get something from his truck. "I have a business proposition for you," he said, turning to Meredith with an unusually serious expression. "Oh," she replied, raising an eyebrow. "I've been thinking about expanding my service offerings," he continued, moving closer to her, "specifically into long-term maintenance." Meredith played along, though confused by his formality. "That sounds like a solid business strategy. I was wondering if you might be interested in a lifetime maintenance contract." Flynn reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "For your heart." Meredith's breath caught as he opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I love you, Meredith," Flynn said, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. "You came into our lives because of a leaky sink, but you fixed something I didn't even know was broken. Lily and I both love you, and we want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Meredith's eyes as she nodded, words momentarily beyond her. "Yes," she finally managed. "Yes, absolutely yes." Flynn slipped the ring onto her finger just as Lily burst back into the kitchen, holding a handmade card. "Did you ask her? Did she say yes?" "She said yes, kiddo," Flynn confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. Lily threw her arms around both of them. "I knew she would. Can I call you Mom now?" Meredith knelt down to Lily's level, heart overflowing. "I would be honored if you called me Mom. I love you so much." "I love you too," Lily said, handing her the card, which was decorated with hearts and the words "Welcome to our family" in a child's careful printing. That evening, as they sat on the patio watching the sunset, Flynn's arm around her shoulders and Lily playing nearby. Meredith reflected on how completely her life had changed in less than a year. From a driven CEO whose only relationship was with her company to part of a family loved, loving, and more fulfilled than she'd ever imagined possible. "What are you thinking about?" Flynn asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. "How a leaky sink changed everything," she replied, leaning into him. "And how sometimes the most important connections have nothing to do with plumbing." Flynn laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest against her ear. "I don't know about that. Plumbing brought me to you, and that makes it pretty important in my book." "Our book," Meredith corrected gently. "Our story." 1 year later, Meredith stood in the garden of their new home, a compromise between her luxury and his practicality, watching as Lily practiced her flower girl walk for the upcoming wedding. Flynn appeared beside her, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "The contractor fixed that issue with the guest bathroom," he murmured, "though I could have done it myself." "You're a guest at this wedding, not the help," Meredith teased, turning in his arms to face him. "Besides, you've been busy enough with the nursery." Her hand drifted to the small but distinct curve of her stomach, still their secret until after the wedding. Flynn covered her hand with his own, his expression one of wonder that hadn't diminished since they'd seen the positive test 3 months ago. "I still can't believe it sometimes," he admitted. "You, Lily, the baby, it's more than I ever thought I'd have again." "Me too," Meredith said softly. "When I called you about that sink, I was just trying to fix a leak. I had no idea I was actually beginning the rest of my life." Flynn kissed her then, tender and sure, a promise of all the years to come. Nearby, Lily twirled in her practice flower girl dress, scattering imaginary petals on the grass, completing the picture of the family they had built unexpectedly, imperfectly, wonderfully. As CEO of Lumina Tech, Meredith had overseen complex mergers and navigated volatile markets, but nothing had prepared her for the simple, profound joy of this blended family created from chance, cemented by choice, and strengthened every day by love that flowed as naturally and necessarily as water itself.